No species dares enter human space anymore. Now the galaxy knows why. HFY Sci-Fi story, the Galactic Trade Hub. Omega-7 floated majestically in the void between three major star systems, its massive structure housing over 2 billion beings from 73 different species. Today, the emergency council chamber buzzed with an energy that bordered on panic as representatives from across the galaxy gathered for the most important meeting in recorded history. High Chancellor Vrex 9 stood at the center of the spherical chamber, his crystalline form refracting the chamber's light into prismatic patterns across the walls. Around him sat beings that defied imagination. Some resembled living liquid mercury, others were vast networks of interconnected fungal networks, and a few existed as pure electromagnetic consciousness housed in mechanical shells. Fellow beings of the Galactic Coalition, Vrex 9's voice resonated through every translator in the chamber. We face an unprecedented crisis. For 400 years, humanity has maintained absolute isolation in their sector of space. No trade, no communication, no contact of any kind. But now, he paused, his crystalline structure darkening with concern. Now we know why. Commander Thax Beta, a being that resembled a massive armored centipede with 12 arms, slammed his primary appendage against his console. Why should we care about these primitives? They control barely 20 star systems while we command thousands. Dr. Quinn Helix, a floating cluster of bioluminescent tentacles that served as the Coalition's chief xenobiologist, pulsed with agitation. Because, Commander, they are the only species in galactic history that has never been conquered, never been contacted successfully, and never been understood. Every expedition we've sent has either vanished completely or returned, changed. The chamber fell silent. Everyone remembered the stories, tales passed down through generations of explorers who had attempted to breach human space. Ships that had entered the human sector and emerged weeks later with crews speaking in monotone voices about the light and the calling. Some expeditions never returned at all, leaving only empty space where entire fleets had once traveled. There's more, Vrex 9 continued, activating the chamber's holographic display system. 3 days ago, we intercepted a transmission from the edge of human space. It was directed at us. The massive screen flickered to life, showing the image of a woman with auburn hair and piercing violet eyes. She wore a simple black uniform with no visible rank insignia or decorations. Her expression was calm, almost serene, but there was something in her gaze that made every being in the chamber uncomfortable. "Greetings, Galactic Coalition," the woman said, her voice carrying an odd harmonic quality that seemed to resonate in frequencies beyond normal hearing. "I am Director Lyra Blackwood of the Human Isolation Protocol. We know you've been watching our borders. We know about your failed expeditions. We know about your plans." Murmurs of alarm rippled through the chamber. Their most classified military operations, known only to the highest levels of Coalition command, were apparently common knowledge to these isolated humans. "We have remained in isolation, not out of fear," Director Blackwood continued, "but out of necessity. However, recent developments require us to break our silence. A formal diplomatic contact will occur in 72 hours at coordinates we are transmitting. Send one ship, send your best, and prepare yourselves for the truth." The transmission ended, leaving the chamber in stunned silence. "Impossible," whispered Ambassador Zekkor, a being composed of living shadow. "Our security protocols are absolute. No species has ever penetrated our command networks." Dr. Quinn Helix's tentacles writhed with excitement and fear. "I've analyzed the transmission. The harmonic frequencies in her voice patterns don't match any known communication method. It's as if she was speaking directly to our consciousness rather than our translation systems." "What do we know about their current capabilities?" asked General Morth Prime, the Coalition's supreme military commander, whose body was a walking fortress of biomechanical armor. Vrex 9's crystal form shifted to display archived data. Publicly, very little. They've been completely isolated for 4 centuries. Their last recorded technology level was equivalent to early spacefaring civilizations. No faster-than-light travel, no energy weapons, no advanced shielding. And privately, General Morth Prime pressed. Privately, every attempt to gather intelligence has failed catastrophically, Vrex 9 admitted. Our stealth ships malfunction the moment they enter their territory. Our spy networks report nightmares and visions that drive agents insane. Our long-range scanners show empty space where human colonies should be. Commander Thax Beta's mandibles clicked nervously. You're saying they've become more advanced than us in 400 years? I'm saying, Vrex 9 replied grimly, that we have no idea what they've become. The debate that followed was fierce but brief. Within hours, the Coalition's most advanced diplomatic vessel, the Harmony's Edge, was prepared for departure. The ship was a marvel of galactic engineering, equipped with every known defensive system and crewed by the finest representatives from 30 different species. Captain Yorick 7, a being of living metal with centuries of diplomatic experience, commanded the vessel. Beside him served Science Officer Dr. Nia Flux, whose gaseous form could analyze any phenomenon, and Security Chief Brutok 9, a warrior whose species had never known defeat in battle. As they approached the coordinates provided by the humans, the crew of the Harmony's Edge prepared for first contact. None of them suspected they were about to discover something that would fundamentally change their understanding of existence itself. Approaching designated coordinate, Captain, reported Navigation Officer Kent 2. All systems functioning normally. Captain Yorick 7 studied the view screen, seeing nothing but empty space. Run a full spectrum scan. I want to know everything about this region. Sir, Dr. Nia Flux' gaseous form shimmered with confusion. The scans show absolutely nothing. No ships, no stations, no energy signatures. It's as if this region of space is completely sterile. Before anyone could respond, the view screen filled with light, not the harsh glare of a star or the soft glow of a nebula, but something that seemed to shine from within the very fabric of space itself. When the light faded, a single human ship floated before them. The vessel was unlike anything in the Coalition databases. It appeared to be constructed from some kind of dark, organic material that seemed to pulse with its own heartbeat. No visible engines, no weapon ports, no apparent propulsion system, yet it moved with fluid grace through the vacuum of space. Unknown vessel, Captain Yorick 7 transmitted. This is the Coalition ship Harmony's Edge. We come in response to your transmission. Welcome, Captain, came the reply. The voice belonged to Director Blackwood, but now they could see her clearly through their communication screens. She stood on what appeared to be the bridge of her ship, but the walls behind her seemed to be made of flowing energy rather than solid matter. I am honored by your prompt response. Permission to board your vessel? Security Chief Brutok 9's weapon systems powered up instinctively. Captain, recommend extreme caution. Our scans cannot penetrate their hull composition. Permission granted, Director, Captain Yorick 7 replied. Standard docking procedures? Director Blackwood smiled, and for a moment, every being on the Coalition ship felt a strange warmth in their minds. That won't be necessary, Captain. Without warning, Director Blackwood materialized on the bridge of the Harmony's Edge. Not transported, not beamed. She simply was not there one moment and was there the next, as if space itself had rearranged to accommodate her presence. The bridge erupted in alarm as weapons were drawn and shields activated, but Director Blackwood raised her hand, and every piece of technology on the ship simply stopped. Not destroyed, not damaged, just temporarily dormant, as if it had decided to take a brief rest. Please don't be alarmed, she said calmly. Your systems will resume normal function in a moment. I simply needed to demonstrate something important. What are you? Dr. Nia Flux whispered, her gaseous form contracting with fear. I am what humanity has become, Director Blackwood replied. 400 years ago, we were much like you, dependent on technology, limited by physical laws, bound by the constraints of matter and energy. Then we discovered something extraordinary. The ship's systems came back online as suddenly as they had shut down, but now everyone could feel something different in the air, a presence, an awareness that seemed to permeate every molecule of atmosphere. You see, Director Blackwood continued, walking casually around the bridge as if she owned it. We learn that consciousness is not produced by the brain, as most species believe. Consciousness is the fundamental force from which all reality emerges. Matter, energy, space, time. These are all expressions of conscious intent. Captain Yorick 7 struggled to process what he was hearing. You're claiming that thought creates reality? Not thought, Director Blackwood corrected. Will. Focused, disciplined, unified will. Humanity spent 4 centuries learning to align our consciousness with the underlying structure of existence. We can no longer be said to use technology. We have become technology. To demonstrate, she gestured toward the view screen. Instantly, the image changed to show a human colony world. But this was no ordinary planet. Cities floated in the sky without visible support. Oceans flowed upward in impossible waterfalls. Gardens grew in perfect geometric patterns that extended for thousands of miles, visible even from orbit. This is New Geneva, Director Blackwood explained. Home to 12 million humans. The entire planet is shaped by collective human will. The weather, the landscape, the very orbit of the world, all of it responds to our intentions. Security Chief Brutok 9's warrior instincts screamed danger, but he found himself unable to move aggressively. How is any of this possible? Because, Director Blackwood said, turning to face him directly, reality is far more fluid than your scientists understand. Every particle, every wave of energy, every quantum interaction, all of it is conscious at some level. Humanity learned to communicate with that consciousness directly. Dr. Naya Flux's forms shimmered with scientific curiosity, despite her fear. The failed expeditions? What happened to them? Director Blackwood's expression grew sad. Your people's minds are not prepared for contact with unified human consciousness. When they enter our space, they experience what we call cognitive overflow. Their neural patterns attempt to match our collective awareness and are overwhelmed by the experience. Some adapt, she continued. They return to you changed, speaking of lights and voices, because they've briefly touched the underlying consciousness that permeates all existence. Others cannot handle the transition and lose themselves in the experience. And some, Captain Yorick 7 said quietly, never return at all. They choose to stay, Director Blackwood confirmed. Once a being experiences true unified consciousness, returning to individual awareness feels like a kind of death. They join our collective willingly. The implications hit the coalition crew like a physical blow. Humanity hadn't been hiding advanced weapons or secret technology. They had evolved beyond the need for such things entirely. Why break isolation now? Captain Yorick 7 asked. Director Blackwood's expression grew serious. Because something is coming. Our expanded awareness has detected a force from beyond this galaxy that views consciousness itself as a threat. It has already consumed 17 galaxies, turning every conscious being into empty, obedient shells. She waved her hand, and the view screen now showed images that defied comprehension. Vast mechanical structures consuming entire star systems. Beings of pure energy being drained of their essence. Worlds stripped not just of life, but of the very potential for awareness. The silence, she whispered, it spreads across the universe, extinguishing consciousness wherever it finds it. We estimate it will reach our galaxy within 50 years. Security Chief Brutok 9's weapon systems activated automatically. Can it be fought? Not with ships or weapons, Director Blackwood replied. It exists on a level beyond physical reality, but it can be resisted through unified consciousness. Minds joined together in absolute harmony will focused with perfect clarity. You're asking us to become like you, Dr. Naya Flux realized. I'm offering to teach you to survive, Director Blackwood corrected. Every species has the potential for consciousness evolution. Some will adapt quickly, others will need centuries of training, but all have the capability within them. Captain Yorick 7 felt the weight of the decision before him. What would this evolution entail? Director Blackwood smiled, and suddenly the entire crew could see through her eyes for just a moment. They experienced the sensation of awareness extending beyond their individual bodies, a feeling the life force in every being around them, of touching the vast network of consciousness that connected all existence. The experience lasted only seconds, but it left them fundamentally changed. That, Director Blackwood said, as their normal perception returned, is what awaits every being ready to transcend the illusion of separation. The Coalition will need to make a choice, she continued. Continue as you are and face extinction when the silence arrives. Or begin the process of consciousness evolution and join humanity in defending not just this galaxy, but the very concept of aware existence itself. Security Chief Brutok 9 lowered his weapons. How long do we have to decide? The decision has already been made, Director Blackwood replied. The moment you agreed to this meeting, the moment you experienced expanded awareness, the process began. You will return to your people changed. They will see the truth in your eyes, feel the new awareness in your presence. She gestured, and suddenly the Coalition ship was back at the coordinates where they had started, Director Blackwood's vessel nowhere to be seen. Some will call you contaminated. Her voice echoed through their minds rather than their communication systems. Others will call you evolved. Both will be correct. Use your influence wisely. The galaxy has little time to prepare. As the Harmony's Edge began its journey back to Coalition space, the crew found themselves forever altered. They could sense each other's emotions, feel the underlying patterns of energy that connected all things, and worst of all, they could perceive the approaching darkness that Director Blackwood had shown them. The return journey took 3 days, but it felt like a lifetime as each crew member grappled with their expanded awareness. When they finally docked at Omega 7, they were met by medical teams and security forces. The Coalition leadership was taking no chances with potential human contamination. But as Captain Yorick 7 walked into the debriefing chamber, every being present could feel the change in him. The council members shifted uncomfortably as his enhanced awareness swept over them, reading their emotions and intentions with perfect clarity. Report, Captain. High Chancellor Vrex 9 commanded, but his crystalline form flickered with uncertainty. The humans, Captain Yorick 7 began, his voice carrying new harmonics that resonated with unfamiliar frequencies, have evolved beyond our understanding of what it means to be conscious beings. They have become something we have no words for in any of our languages. Are they a threat? General Morth Prime demanded. Captain Yorick 7 smiled, and for a moment, every being in the chamber felt a warmth they had never experienced. The sensation of being truly understood and accepted. They are our only hope, he replied. Over the following weeks, similar conversations took place across Coalition space as the crew of the Harmony's Edge shared their experience. Some species reacted with fear, others with fascination. A few immediately began developing consciousness expansion programs, while several voted to completely seal their borders against any human influence. But the change had already begun. Those who had been exposed to expanded human awareness found themselves developing new abilities, sensing emotions in others, influencing matter through focused intention, perceiving the interconnected web of consciousness that linked all existence. Within 6 months, the first voluntary consciousness evolution centers opened on a dozen worlds. Beings from across the galaxy came to learn the techniques humanity had mastered, guided by humans who materialized as teachers without need for ships or technology. Not everyone survived the transition. Some minds simply couldn't adapt to expanded awareness and had to be returned to their original state. Others lost themselves in the vastness of cosmic consciousness and had to be carefully guided back to individual identity. But those who succeeded became something new, not fully human, but no longer limited by their original species' constraints. They formed the core of what would become known as the Consciousness Defense Force, the galaxy's only hope against the approaching silence. Director Lyra Blackwood stood on the observation deck of New Geneva's Orbital Consciousness Nexus, watching as the first mixed-species collective meditation session took place on the planet below. Millions of beings from across the galaxy sat in perfect harmony, their awareness unified in preparation for the coming war. Beside her materialized Captain Yorick 7, his metallic form now shimmering with patterns of energy that shifted based on his emotional state. The Coalition Council has voted, he reported, full cooperation with the Consciousness Evolution Program. Even the most resistant species have agreed to begin basic training. How many? Lyra asked. 43 species have committed to immediate evolution programs. Another 20 are beginning preliminary awareness training. The rest, he paused, the rest are building isolation barriers, hoping to hide from both us and the silence. Lyra nodded sadly. They won't be able to hide from what's coming. The silence doesn't distinguish between evolved and primitive consciousness. It simply extinguishes all awareness it encounters. Then we save who we can, Captain Yorick 7 said, his enhanced empathy allowing him to feel Lyra's sadness as if it were his own. Yes, Lyra agreed, watching as the meditation session below reached its crescendo. For a moment, the entire planet glowed with unified consciousness, visible even from orbit as millions of minds touched the fundamental awareness that underlies all existence. We save who we can, and we prepare for war unlike anything the universe has ever seen. In the depths of space, moving between galaxies at speeds that transcended physical limitations, the silence continued its inexorable advance. It had already consumed the consciousness of trillions of beings, leaving behind empty husks that served its mechanical purpose. But for the first time in its eternal existence, the silence detected something new, a growing network of unified awareness that refused to be extinguished. Humanity and their new allies were creating something it had never encountered before. Consciousness so unified and powerful that it might actually pose a threat. The silence accelerated its approach. This galaxy would be its greatest test and potentially its greatest victory. But in human space, in coalition worlds, and in the growing consciousness, evolution centers scattered across thousands of planets, beings who had transcended the limitations of individual awareness, prepared for the ultimate battle. The war for consciousness itself was about to begin. And for the first time in 400 years, humanity was no longer alone in facing the infinite darkness that sought to silence every thinking mind in the universe. The galaxy had learned why no species dared enter human space anymore, because those who did were forever changed, evolved beyond their original limitations, and recruited into the most important war that would ever be fought. The age of isolation was ending. The age of consciousness had begun. 1 year later, the transformation was complete. Ambassador Zek Kor, the being of living shadow who had once questioned human capabilities, now served as the primary liaison between evolved consciousness and traditional galactic society. His form had changed. Where once he had been pure darkness, now patterns of light danced through his shadowy essence, visible evidence of his expanded awareness. He stood before the rebuilt Galactic Council, addressing representatives who were themselves in various stages of consciousness evolution. Some glowed with inner light, others seemed to phase in and out of physical reality, and a few appeared completely unchanged, but radiated an unmistakable sense of deeper awareness. "The final count is in," Zekkor announced, his voice carrying harmonics that touched every mind present. 68 species have successfully completed basic consciousness evolution. 37 have achieved advanced unified awareness. 12 species have transcended physical form entirely while maintaining individual identity. General Morth Prime, his biomechanical armor now pulsing with energy patterns that reflected his thoughts, stood to address the assembly. And our defenses? The consciousness defense grid is operational across all evolved systems, Zekkor replied. When the silence arrives, it will face not scattered individual minds, but a unified awareness spanning thousands of worlds and billions of beings. Director Lyra Blackwood materialized in the center of the chamber, not through technology, but through pure will. Her human form seemed to shift between states of matter, sometimes solid, sometimes energy, always radiating the calm authority of someone who had mastered the fundamental forces of existence. "The silence has accelerated its approach," she announced. "Our deep space monitors detect its advanced scouts entering our galaxy's outer rim. We have perhaps 6 months before the first direct confrontation." Dr. Naya Flux, her gaseous form now shot through with streams of conscious energy, pulsed with anticipation. "Are we ready?" Lyra smiled, and for a moment, every evolved being in the galaxy felt her confidence flow through them like warm sunlight. We are ready. For the first time in cosmic history, consciousness itself will fight back against the forces that seek to extinguish it. What of the non-evolved species? Asked Captain Yorick 7, his metallic form now inscribed with flowing patterns that told a story of his transformation. They will be protected, Lyra assured him. Those who chose isolation over evolution will find their worlds shielded by our collective will. When this war is over, they will have the choice to join us or remain as they are. And if we lose? Zekor asked the question that haunted every evolved mind. Lyra's expression grew serious. Then consciousness dies with us, but we will not lose. The silence has consumed galaxies because it faced only scattered, individual awareness. It has never encountered unified consciousness of this magnitude. She gestured, and suddenly every being in the chamber could see through her enhanced perception. The vast network of connected minds spanning the galaxy, millions of species linked in perfect harmony, their combined will focused on a single purpose, the defense of awareness itself. The silence seeks to return the universe to empty void, Lyra continued. We choose to fill it with infinite possibility. That is a battle worth fighting. As the council session ended and representatives returned to their worlds to make final preparations, one thing was clear. The galaxy would never be the same. Humanity's greatest gift to the cosmos wasn't technology or weapons. It was the proof that consciousness could evolve, could transcend its limitations, could become something greater than the sum of its parts. The war for the very concept of awareness was about to begin. And for the first time since the silence began its universal purge, the forces of consciousness stood ready to fight back. In the depths of space, ancient and malevolent, the silence felt something it had never experienced before: uncertainty. This galaxy would not fall as easily as the others. This time it faced an enemy that could match its cosmic scale. The ultimate battle between consciousness and void was about to commence. Did this story captivate you? Are you ready to dive deeper into the universe of consciousness evolution and cosmic warfare? If you enjoyed this tale of humanity's hidden power and the galaxy's transformation, smash that like button and let me know in the comments what you think happens when the silence finally arrives. Will the evolved species be enough to stop an enemy that has consumed 17 entire galaxies? Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell for more epic HFY stories that will blow your mind. I've got incredible tales coming up about the day aliens discovered humans dream in dimensions they can't perceive, why every galactic empire fears the sound of human laughter, the species that tried to harvest human emotions and lived to regret it. Share this video with anyone who loves mind-bending sci-fi that makes you question the nature of reality itself. Drop a comment with your theories about the silence. What do you think this cosmic force really is? Your support helps me create more amazing stories that explore the incredible potential of humanity and consciousness. Every like, comment, and share brings us closer to building the ultimate HFY community. Thanks for watching. And remember, consciousness is the most powerful force in the universe. Never let anyone convince you otherwise. #HFY, #Sci-Fi Stories, #Consciousness Evolution, #Humanity FY, #Galactic Warfare, #Mind-Blowing Sci-Fi.